40 and 41, we're going to do 2 verses today. I kindly ask, in case if you want to read it out, because I have a little difficulty with the font of the italics. So I'll just read out the first one and then we'll try to see.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 1. Text 40 and 41. So we're going to recite together text 40. Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Strishu dustashu varshneya.
Strishu dustashu varshneya.
Jayate varna shankara.
Jayate varna shankara.
Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Strisu dustasu varsneya.
Strishu dustasu varshneya.
Jayate varna shankara.
Jayate varna shankara.
Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Strisu dustasu varsneya.
Strishu dustasu varshneya.
Jayate varna shankara.
Jayate varna shankara.
Dharma bhavad Krishna.
Dharma bhavad Krishna.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Pradusyanti kulastriya.
Sudashtasu vasneya.
Strishu dustasu varshneya.
Jayate varna shankara.
Jayate varna shankara.
Adharma bhavad Krishna.
Dharma bhavad Krishna.
Padusyanti kulastriya.
Padusyanti kulastriya.
Stesu dustasu bhasneya.
Strishu dustasu varshneya.
Jayate varna shankara.
Jayate varna shankara.
Anybody else?
Word for words. Adharma,
Adharma,
irreligion.
irreligion.
Abhibhavad,
Abhibhavad,
having become predominant.
having become predominant.
Krishna,
Krishna,
O Krishna.
O Krishna.
Pradusyanti,
Pradusyanti,
become polluted.
become polluted.
Kulastriya,
Kulastriya,
family ladies.
family ladies.
Strisu,
Strishu,
by the womanhood.
by the womanhood.
Dustasu,
Dustasu,
being so polluted.
being so polluted.
Varshneya,
Varshneya,
O descendant of Krishna.
O descendant of Krishna.
Jayate,
Jayate,
comes into being.
comes into being.
Varna Sankara,
Varna shankara,
unwanted progeny.
unwanted progeny.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the woman of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Purport. Good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashram religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of states and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of the religious activity should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashram system. On the failure of such Varnashram dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. Text 41. So I will just read the translation and purport. Translation. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Purport. According to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu, because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful activities. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam food are offered to forefathers by descendants, and the forefathers are released from ghostly and other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery, as it is stated in the Bhagavatam, Canto 11, 5th chapter, text 41. Devarishi bhutha ta nrinam pitranam na kinkaro nayam nri cha rajan sarvatmana yaha saranam sharanyam kato mukundam parihritya kartam. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor oblations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, nor forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by the performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Shri Chaitanya Manavisthamasthavya Swayam Rupanamamayam Dadati Swadanati Vandeham Shri Guru Shridharpadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanamurshya Shri Rupam Sagajatam Saganaratam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanandasya Pancha Kalpataruyasya Kripa Sindhubhyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna. So towards the end of this first chapter, It's been a wonderful narrative thus far, learning about basically the plot of the Mahabharata. But the first chapter is many times misunderstood to be a very elementary section of the whole Gita. But as we will discuss, Prabhupada didn't think so. We'll come to that point just now. Usually the first section, what's it called in English? Yes? Observing? Right, observing the armies on the battlefield. Right, so it's an observation of the war. Sainya Niriksha Yoga. This is one part of what the title is called. And at the same time, it's also called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, or Arjuna's confusion. So two titles that are given to this particular section. Vishada means confusion, lamentation. It also means misery. This is like perturbed, disturbed state of mind. In Sanskrit has many meanings to one word. So the acharyas give different meanings like this. So the first section is divided into just two parts. From verse 1 to 27 is this, the battlefield and the narrative of what's going on, setting the scene, observing the armies. And from 27 to 46 is the last verse. It's the second part of Arjuna's dilemma. And to find out where are we now in today, 40th verse, it's this section between 39 and 43. So we are 40, 41 today. So this section is the fourth argument that Arjuna gives to Krishna, the destruction of the dynasty. Arjuna, in this second section, Arjuna proposes four parts, four arguments to Krishna. He says, Krishna, how can you ask me to kill? We should be compassionate. So compassionate argument, he offers that argument as the first one. Then Krishna says, well, you're a Kshatriya, you should fight, you know. So they have this dialogue about that, about compassion. Then the second argument, Krishna says, well, you'll enjoy the kingdom, Arjun. You'll enjoy. So that's the second argument, that you'll enjoy. And the third argument, Arjuna says, well, how can I enjoy if nobody is here with me? Just like if you buy a new item, like a mobile phone or something, and nobody says to you, oh, what a nice phone you have. Yeah, how would you feel? Actually, you're waiting for somebody to acknowledge it, right? You're waiting for somebody to say, wow, is that a new something? Mobile? Is that the new S4 something? Is this the latest whatever it is? So
nobody left alive to even phone.
Well, few left alive after that. So, yeah, but the point is, you need, especially family people, they understand your mood and reciprocate with you unconditionally, right? In a condition, in our state, right? They actually give their heart to you as a family person, right? So he's saying, how can I enjoy it? These are my family, my brothers, my guru, my uncles. So how can I enjoy it? So that's the second argument. And the third one, he says, it will create sin, pap. It will be sinful. I'll get sinful reactions from this. Because the Kshatriya by code is to fight, but not to fight in this state. And then the fourth argument is this, what we're discussing today. The destruction of the dynasty. What will be the result? What will be the legacy that we will leave behind after this war? So it's a very, it's a very sensitive part. Now it's interesting, like I said, Prabhupada thought this to be quite it's not an elementary part of the Gita. Now why did I say that? Because Prabhupada is one of the only acharyas who actually fully commented, gave a commentary on this first chapter. If you read the other acharyas' commentaries, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives something, but it's more like a narrative. Ramanuja Acharya also commented, Madhvacharya also commented, but very basic, elementary commentaries on it. But Srila Prabhupada, verse by verse, there's a purport. So he thought it essential. Now why is that? Because at the time when these acharyas were giving commentaries on the Gita, the degradation of what we're discussing today was not as prominent. Varna Sankara, which we're discussing today, was there. We know it. Karna, right? Kunti had Karna, and an unwanted child. We know of the histories of in Vedic society of Varnasa unwanted, that somehow the other child was conceived and tried to abandon the child in some way, give it to some sage to take care, something like that. So the history is there, but it's not as prevalent, especially today's verse, as the way it is in contemporary society. That's why I drew up this chart on the top here, called Krishna is the cause of Varna Sankara. So I want you to think about that statement like Narendra Krishna Prabhu was saying. So it's quite a common misunderstanding, and we'll try to verify and clarify different things. How is it that people see, why do they see Krishna like this? Because one of the things, they say, well, God has to be good. God has to promote purity. He's expecting it of us, right? We have our regulative principles and things like that. And the word goodness comes from godliness, godness, right? So he's expecting us to do all these things, but look at his behavior. So you know the accusations against Krishna. We'll discuss some of it later on. But just keep it in mind when your mind drifts a bit. Just pull it back onto this point here, right? Right, so these are the four points that Arjuna's arguments that he proposes. And Prabhupada gives a commentary on this, because none of the previous acharyas thought that this Bhagavad Gita message will go to the West. Nobody thought so. Nobody thought it, because West means once you pass the shore, it's less than Vedic culture after that. So who's going to understand this kind of philosophy? This is how high the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. It may be 700 verses. I don't think there's any scriptural text in the world that's only 700 verses, is there? I think the Bible has more than that, the Torah has more than that, the Quran definitely has more than that. But the essence of everything is in 700 verses, and of that Krishna only spoke like 574 verses. So it's quite condensed. So it's definitely meant for somebody of a higher level of consciousness, somebody who's really thoughtful about life. It's meant for that kind of person. And that's why it starts in a state of confusion. Because somebody who's, unless he's confused about life, why would he ask these kind of questions? Unless he's confused about what's the goal of life, why would he inquire into spiritual life? He's satisfied, isn't he? So why would he inquire? So Prabhupada basically spoon-fed us through these through these purports, especially the first chapter, because if you read through, very little is commented on this first. That's why many times it's misunderstood as not very important. But it is essential, because this is where spiritual life starts. As a sadhaka, it's essential. These questions will always come up. And these arguments will always be proposed by our mind. Conditioned means confused. A pure devotee, he's not confused. He's clear. He's perfect in thought. He's perfect in his actions. But a conditioned state means confusion, vishada, lamentation. So this is an important part of sadhana, to reflect on this. Whenever there's a very interesting pastime, this comes to mind. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj was, I think he was GBC maybe, but he was serving in Bombay Temple. And it was very difficult at that time, you can imagine, right? And then Prabhupada was here in Vrindavan, so he came to Vrindavan, and He cried to Prabhupada, "This is so difficult there. So difficult, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada listened, and then Prabhupada said, "Please advise me what I should do." And what do you think Prabhupada said? He said, "Have you read Bhagavad Gita cover to cover?" Something he was really not expecting. And he said, "Well, cover to cover, I'm not." So Prabhupada said, "Take out time to do this." So he took 4 days. Cover to cover, he studied the Bhagavad Gita. And he was on his way out. And then Prabhupada saw him and said, "Call him." So Maharaj came. And Prabhupada says, "Well, you had some questions, something, when you came in." And he said, "No, it's all answered now. It's all answered." So this is the nature of Bhagavad Gita. It's a deep philosophical text. And if we only know the effect of this book distribution in the whole world right now, there's one cherry on the cake at the end of the class, where a great president actually studied Bhagavad Gita, somebody who passed away very recently. So we'll share some of that also. So that's where we're situated now. We're in this situation of discussing Varna Sankara. And Prabhupada, in the text number 40, it starts with this family dynasty. And don't you think it's a fair argument, what Arjuna is proposing? Right? It's a moral argument, isn't it? Why should I kill? Killing is bad. Don't look at how far he's projecting. That due to killing, you're going to lose, the dynasty is going to break up. When that happens, the women are not protected. Women and children are not protected. Who's going to protect them? They'll be abused. And due to that, this is the result. You're going to get a lower quality of person being dominant. Lower quality means lower consciousness. Actually, this word Varna Sankara is also translated as lower, not only unwanted children, but also lower consciousness. It's a lower consciousness of person. Somebody who's not following dharma. Our dharma is our dharmic. And the family tradition gets ruined. Pradasyanti kulasriya, the second line. The family tradition gets ruined. Kula, the family, Kula Dharma gets ruined. And Striya Dharma, the woman Dharma, the Dharma of a lady, that gets ruined. So how can this bring culture? The word Sanskrit comes from this word Sanskriti, which means culture. So we are cultured people. So why are you asking me to do this? So do you think it's a valid argument, what he's saying? Yeah, I think from what we're reading, it sounds valid. And notice something also. If we didn't have the commentaries of the acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, if you read the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, how many times does Krishna speak here? Very few, right? Maybe 2-3 times, just because he's not acting as guru right now. He's still as Arjuna's chariot driver and friend. So if you read it without the Acharya's commentaries, you will think that who is the speaker and who is the listener? You will think Arjuna is the speaker, especially the second part. It's natural to think that because Arjuna is giving such moral arguments, like I just said just now, this sounds right. So you'll think that Arjuna is the speaker and Krishna is the disciple. Isn't it? Yeah. Because he's giving all the spirit, what we understand as morality from our conditioned state. Arjuna is verifying through scripture also. Dharma Shastra says this and this Shastra says that, and he's quoting. So you think, hey, who's actually supposed to be speaking here? I heard Krishna is the speaker of the Gita, but it seems like Arjuna is giving him a lesson, right? So without the Acharya's commentaries, the first chapter, you totally misunderstand it. It would be what they call an antithesis of understanding, total opposite. You think that Arjuna is a speaker and Krishna is a listener. It's not like that, right? So therefore, these guidelines of the Acharyas, essential, especially Prabhupada's Gita, is becoming world-renowned now as the most authorized form of the Bhagavad Gita. Just a month back, was it 2 months back, the Chile president actually received Bhagavad Gita from some devotees in Chile. And I also received another nice mail on the Thailand president is a female. I don't know her name, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyway. But she swore in her presidency on the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. So these big personalities are recognizing the value of this book. So we should really know what we have in our hands here. It's the most powerful text. Great leaders of the world are understanding what potency is in these books. So that's the first part, right? Destruction of dynasty. Now Prabhupada in the purport, before we get to that, now you may think, you know what, is this, okay, Prabhuji, very nice, you know, we can understand that, yeah, this may have happened at that time. But is it current? Can such a situation be topical? Can it be a situation of today's society, what Arjuna is saying, that a whole city or a whole culture can be polluted like this with Vana Sankara? Now you'd be interested to know, I just Googled this yesterday, and how many of you heard of Nagpur? Nagpurwa? I'm glad nobody's heard of it. I hope no, yeah? You heard?
Nagpur in Maharashtra?
Yeah, it's in Rajasthan.
Oh, in Rajasthan.
Yeah. This village of Nagpura is known as a complete village which enforces a tradition of prostitution. The whole village. We're not just talking, you know, 1 or 2 people. It's a tradition in that village. You can read it here. It was enforced for generations, exactly what Arjuna is saying. It was enforced for many generations until recently, you know, social workers got in and tried to educate people, and strong women who understood the, you know, the degradation of this started to stand up and speak out. And then there's even a YouTube video here. You can, you know, if you're interested in seeing the plight of people. Because like Prabhupada is saying in the purport, women and children are innocent. Right? So they can very easily, if elders are misdirected, they'll very easily accept. Right? If they understand it as a culture, what choice do they have? So this is really top. This is 2013 article. So you can pass it around. You can reach it. Sorry. Anyway, you can just go through that. So it's quite. It is possible what Arjuna is saying, that an entire city or an entire place can be polluted in this way. Another person that you may know, the photograph is a little small, but from where you are, do you recognize this person?
Mukesh Ambani.
Wow, who's that? Uddhav. Yeah, that's right. This is, who is actually Mukesh Ambani? We're using him as an example, not in a bad way. We're trying to learn here. Anybody knows who he is?
The top industrialist here?
Yes, he's the top industrialist in India.
Top what?
Yeah, and which is the company that he owns?
Industrialist.
Reliance is one of, he must own many. He's actually the 9th richest man in the world. 18.5 billion US dollars. He's a big person. Right? But do you know how he started his life? Do you know what's his childhood like? He started off as Vana Sankara. He started off as a person who was abandoned by his parents. I'm not going to mention his parents' name. You can read it here as the chart goes around. So he started off, his parents were so poor that they couldn't, simply like Kunti, but not because of poverty, right? So they were poor. And due to that, they abandoned him to an orphanage. Unwanted children, unwanted child. They couldn't take care of him. and I don't know what karma it is, but today he's the richest man in India, the 9th richest person in the world. So it is, Varnasankara is definitely prominent in our society. Yeah, Prabhu, you can pass it. Sorry, I won't get you up again. Okay. So, yeah. So Prabhupada in the purport brings out the point of women being less intelligent. It is quite a strong point, something I would preferably try to avoid, especially in an argument. But seeing that Prabhupada has brought it up, very strongly in the verse, then we'll discuss it a bit. So Prabhupada is saying that if Mother Vishaka, she was here recently, I think also, and she at one time, I forget who was her temple president, and maybe it was Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. She had went to Prabhupada and complained that Prabhupada, the men folk are telling us that us lady folk are less intelligent. So Prabhupada had a big smile on his face. And he says, if you chant Hare Krishna, your brain will grow. So he says like that, if you chant Hare Krishna, your brain will grow. But it's not that, because when Prabhupada was in school, I think maybe it's university, he started this, you hear this argument also that a woman's brain is 200 ounces less than a man's brain and like that. Prabhupada actually offered the argument. So you can understand, he's quoting it from his studies, it's not Shabda, Just like he quotes Chanakya Pandit also. Right? Prabhupada, even in today's verse, he quoted Chanakya Pandit as saying that a lady is fire and man is butter. And if they cook together, then it becomes problem. So Prabhupada is quoting Chanakya Pandit is not an acharya of Vedic knowledge. He's not a Vedic acharya. He's a pandit. He's more like a moral and social authority. He's not a Vedic authority. So Prabhupada quotes him though. So Prabhupada, if you think about it, Prabhupada gave the arguments also. Do you think that you're a woman? You're actually spirit soul. So on the spiritual level, who's intelligent and who's more intelligent and who's less intelligent? How do you evaluate that? Krishna gives the Adi Buddhi Yogam Tam. Krishna gives realization, right? So that's not based on the body. So on a spiritual level, then you need a male, no female. On a material level, if one thinks one is female, then one will have that bodily consciousness. And if one thinks one is male, then he will have that consciousness. But the point is that we're neither male nor female. Right? We're spirit soul. And if we act as spirit soul, then we're not disturbed by whether one is intelligent or not in that way. Because there are many devotees even within our society that are in female bodies that are very intelligent, very dynamic people, right? Very good preachers, very advanced devotees also. So it's not based on anything spiritual, material. So the point is that if one is practicing spiritual life, then the essence of this statement is that when you're in a female body, it's according to what Prabhupada has said, right? You can verify to yourself that a lady has more attachment because she's more conscious of what she looks like, the way she conducts herself, isn't it? There's more bodily consciousness than a man would. I know sometimes when you travel in the flights and things, you'll always see a lady with a mirror, and she'll have a brush, and she's doing her thing, and she's always conscious of the way everything is. That's the nature. That's the nature of a lady, right? So that bodily consciousness is what we are speaking. If you're more conscious on that platform than on a spiritual platform, then that point is less intelligent. It's got nothing to do with spirituality, being spiritually less intelligent. right? So Prabhupada brings that point up there. And so in text 41 then, Arjuna very clearly says that if one does not perform activities, if he does not perform, then what will happen to the ancestors? If the dynasty is broken, then the ancestors don't get anything. They don't, because by piety, by yajna, those who did not get proper births in their previous lives, ghostly forms and things like that, how would they benefit from it? Then by us doing piety here, by doing sacrifices called pinda, then one gets, the person and those people who are suffering in the different realms, they get benefit from it. And even if they are not suffering, if they are in the higher planets, then how to prolong their enjoyment there? Because there's two types of elevation to the higher levels. When you are so-called ordinarily pious, right? Then you go to this loka, this planet of the ancestral planet. It's a higher planet, and you enjoy it. And if you are extraordinary pious, then you go to Svarga Loka. And you know, Svarga Loka, there's no suffering. The only suffering, the only the way you'll know is with this. It's a garland that you have around your neck. And when it dries up, like this one, then your time is up. So because your family members from a previous life are aware of you, by them performing offerings or sacrifices on your behalf here, your stay is prolonged in Satya, in the Svarga Loka. So both ways, whether you have a good birth or not, both ways you can benefit from the offerings, right? So, so Arjuna is really pushing this point forward, you know, that Krishna, don't ask me to do this. This is immoral. This is not practical, not moral. So we have a little video before we want to, it's a 4-minute video before we want to address this point, right? This one is taken up, it's called The Unwanted. This is direct translation to Varna Sankara. But it's discussing how that in present life, from what Arjuna is talking about and how degraded it has become in the modern society. Where the child is, here Arjuna is talking about children who are already born, right? What we're going to observe in 2 or 3 minutes is how technology has advanced so much that children are being murdered right in the body of their mothers. And this unwanted state, and how far you may not, you know, when we live here in the temple and in Vrindavan, we don't know the severity of degradation. But it is really severe out there. People don't really know what to do. Doctors don't know what to do. They've got themselves into something in the name of technology, and they just can't get out of it. And knowing the nature of Kali Yuga, what's going to happen? It's going to degrade further and further. So just 2-3 minutes, okay? You see at the back?
For centuries, Indian society has never welcomed the birth of a daughter. Despite the economic prosperity and technological growth in the last 2 decades, social and cultural norms in India still carry a deep gender bias and prejudice against women and girl children. They are even denied the right to be born. And even if they survive, they are seen as a huge burden and not a blessing. As a result, a gross imbalance is developing between the numbers of boys and girls in the country. The latest census figures of 2011 reveal an alarming gender gap in the age group of 0 to 6 years. The phenomenon of vanishing girls from Indian society is deeply disturbing and shocking.
शिशु लिंगानुपात में कमी का आना ये हम सभी के सामने एक अभी का आना
of vanishing girls from Indian society is deeply disturbing and shocking.
शिशु लिंगानुपात में कमी का आना ये हम सभी के सामने एक प्रॉब्लम है जिसको सेक्स डिस्क्रिमिनेशन कहते हैं जो इस both unethical and illegal and it should be stopped.
The number of girls which have been killed over the last 20 years is going to change our society very significantly in the next 20 years. And all of us will have to pay the price.
Can you put the microphone on?
The traditional method of getting rid of an unwanted girl child was female infanticide. But with the advancement of medical technology, infanticide has given way to female feticide. With easy availability of modern scientific techniques such as ultrasound scans and amniocentesis, it is now easier to discover the sex of a child in the womb and then abort it if it is a female child. Female feticide is a result of an unholy alliance between traditional views and modern technology that is creating havoc with the sex ratio in Indian society.
It didn't happen in the early years because technology of killing children was not very efficient. What happened in the 70s and 80s? The technology came, the most efficient technology came. So you had the two-child mark and you had an efficient technology. So the rate of attrition of the number of girl children went from here to here, and that is history. That is part of history. Now we are left with the results of history. What do we do?
The birth of a son has long been more highly valued than a daughter. The girl child is treated right from her birth as an extra mouth to feed and another man's property. Dowry system in India plays a crucial role in people's preference for the male child. There are customary beliefs among Hindus that require the male progeny to perform last rites of the parents.
When I had my daughters, especially the second one, in all of my relations and my friends, they said, poor Sandhya, she has a daughter once again, the second time. I feel really irritated when somebody says that. Even the educated people, they should have a son. Just to carry family name, you need a son. And just to light the funeral pyre, you need a son. Son, that is son obsession in the society.
Every week in India, thousands of baby girls are aborted and abandoned simply because of their gender. Ultrasound scanning, being a non-invasive technique, quickly gained popularity, and sex-selective abortion became an easy way out to get rid of a daughter even before her birth. While estimates suggest that around 10 million girls were wiped out or simply not born over the last 2 decades in India, the consequences of missing girls are very tragic, painful and disastrous to contemplate in respect of India's future.
The social consequences of millions of missing girls will be horrific. In the last 60 years, partition was the worst.
Alright, so I think you get the idea, right? You don't want to turn this into a memorial, but the idea is there, right? It is, look at how the degradation has come. So what's the solace then for us as devotees? Prabhupada also gives that in the purport, that for devotees there's no problem. Once you're a devotee, there's no obligation to ancestors or hellish life. He quotes the Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, the 5th chapter, that one who surrenders to Mukunda, that everything is taken care of, all your needs, all your obligations that was expected of you, all of it, irrespective of what you're, whether you're in a male body or a female body, all of that is taken care of. So that's tremendous solace. Can you imagine these people don't know this? These people, that mother who spoke there, because I think she had female children, then she was criticized for that. So she would feel, well, when my husband passes on, who'll do the fire sacrifice, who'll put the fire at the pyre and things like that. So for devotees, irrelevant. Krishna Bhakta, he's or she, doesn't matter. So we've transcended all those. So it's a great encouragement, right? So we have few minutes, we want to really address this point. So you've been thinking about this, right? Krishna, the cause now, because this is what Arjuna is saying. Krishna, if you're going to make me do this, you're going to be the cause of Varna Sankara, because you want me to do this. So what do you think? Do you think it's moral what Krishna is asking him to do? Yes? Why you say that, Prabhu?
Well, he's telling to be Krishna conscious.
Can you take the microphone?
We have, what happened to this? Yeah. So your point is he's making him to be Krishna conscious.
The point is actually to establish a religiosity. Actually unwanted tax people is the one who are of the other side of the battlefield.
Right.
Right. So that's why they need to be removed.
No, but Krishna's behavior, is it condoned what Krishna is doing, what Krishna's behavior is? Because as being the personality of Godhead, the supreme personality of Godhead, in other religious traditions, God is known as the purest person, the person of goodness, the person of love, all godly, good qualities. We say godly qualities, right? But this is Arjuna's argument here. He's saying, you want me to kill now? Right? You want me to do these things? And we know Krishna is an example. One may say, well, it's not a good example. That's what people that you meet and preach to are going to say to you. Krishna is dancing with other men's wives. Krishna is doing Ras Leela. Krishna is stealing. Krishna is, he married 16,000 wives, something nobody has ever heard of or done before. How will you answer him?
Actually, Krishna is the proprietor of everything for everybody.
Right.
So there is no difference in his or somebody else's wife.
Yes. Right. Good point. Yes. So the point is, first understand Krishna's position. First understand who you're dealing with here. Right? Understand Krishna's position. Krishna's position, according to Vedic scripture, is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has his energies, which is in the present in the form of the female aspect of his nature, Srimati Radharani. Right? Now, if, just to give an example, right? Mother Parvati, don't mind if I use you an example. If we're having a Janmashtami play, and Mother Parvati and her husband are acting in the play, but they are acting as if she is married to somebody else, and her husband is married to somebody else. Right? They're acting as that. And in the play, they meet as two people who are married to other people. Right? They meet in the play, just like Radha and Krishna. Radharani is married to who? Abhimanyu. Right? So, but in the play, Mother Parvati and her husband meet. Right? And this is the course of the play. And after the play is over, then they go home. So what is illicit in that action? Is there anything illicit? Because in their actual relationship, they are husband and wife. And in the play, they're only acting as something different. So, but they're actually in substance husband and wife. So when Krishna is relating with Radharani, who is Radharani? She is his Ladini Shakti, is directly his energy. But because no other religious tradition explains the phenomena of pastime, of Leela. In every other religious tradition, you'll hear something about God. Oh, he's great. Oh, he is very powerful. These qualities. But only in the Vedic tradition, only in that tradition of Krishna consciousness, you get to understand Leela, pastimes, which is more intimate. And it's not with separate people, it's for the sake of pastime. So Krishna is actually interacting with his own energy. Rukmini is an expansion of Radharani. So when he is in that pastime to create mood, to create ambience, he's telling her, he's there in Dwarka and thinking of Radharani here. Is there any difference in the people? Just like I said, Mother Parvati is acting in the drama, and when she goes home, she's back to her original situation. There's no illicit activity there. It's the same person. It's just the environment has changed and the roles have changed, but it's the same person. She's not anybody different. The queens that Krishna married, 16,108 queens, right? He married. Do you know how he married and under what conditions he married them? Yeah, they were abducted by an asura, Bhaumasura, I think, right? And due to the Vedic norm that a lady once abducted, she cannot get married. So Krishna said, then I will take care of them. Is that being promiscuous? It's actually a higher moral principle. Krishna said, I will take care of them. So he took care of them in that way. So is that promiscuous? Is Krishna being promiscuous there? And then Krishna stealing. If you see that pastime, Krishna stealing butter, just before that, Krishna actually shows Mother Yashoda his mouth. She opens it, open your mouth, and she looks in and she sees the whole of Vrindavan, she sees the whole universe, she sees herself. So is Krishna really after butter? Because in his mouth she saw Vrindavan, which means all the butter in Vrindavan is there in his mouth. Everything is there. The whole universe is there. So is he actually just after butter? Is he a thief then? Like Prabhu was saying, everything belongs to him. Everything is his only. So if you understand the concept of Leela, then it becomes very easy to understand what is Krishna doing. Because under our conditioning, morality is not the same in Krishna's. Because this is Arjuna's condition, his confusion here. Because ordinary morality and spiritual morality is different. What we think is morally good, under spiritual terms may be different, right? Just like these, what is it called? Jihadis, right? According to their tradition, it's misunderstood, but according to their religious tradition, it says that you attack people in this way and convert them, and if they're not, then and they say, well, it's similar to our Kurukshetra war, right? But what is the goal there? That one who's a jihadi, what does he get? He gets a paradise with something like 70, right, something like that. So what happened to Allah in that picture? Is Allah the goal of that tradition, or is paradise with 70 females? Where's religion there? He's completely lost his goal of religion. Why do you need to pray to Allah to do that? So he's feeling it's moral, but is it moral? So therefore, before we judge Krishna, first understand his position. as a supreme personality of Godhead, then understand his Shaktis and how he's interrelating with them in the form of Leela. When you understand these two concepts, then you'll see everything makes sense, everything fits. He's interacting to create excitement, to create pastime, to like Madhav Maharaj always says, he says, why does Krishna steal butter? He gives the answer. He says, when somebody steals from you, you never forget his face. Somebody steals from you, you never forget his face. And what's the secret of Bhagavad Gita? Man mana bhavamat bhatto. Always think about me. You'll never forget Krishna's face. So that's why he does all these pranks, these playful pastimes. To create it, like he tells Rukmini, you know, why did you marry me, you know? Why did you? He just wants to see how she's going to respond. Why, they say this about me, Shishupal said this, so many things. You made a big mistake, you know. And as a married wife, she gets worked up. That getting worked up is the ras. But it's the same person. And then Krishna is thinking of Radharani in Vrindavan. It's the same person. There's no different person there. So when you understand Krishna's activities in this way, you will see that Krishna is actually not the cause of Vana Sankara. He's not the cause of it. He's actually, like Prabhuji is saying, is breaking this misunderstanding of what is spiritual, what is material. What is Kula Dharma, what is this? That's why at the end he says, abandon all these dharmas. Sarva Dharman Varijita. Just Mamekam. Just surrender on to me. So just in conclusion then, just to know how this Bhagavad Gita, if we can just dedicate our lives to trying to read and understand this one book. It's only 700 verses. But what it contains, it has enchanted the minds of great thinkers throughout the whole world. Oh, one more point, right, on this Krishna point. Now, if somebody is doing promiscuous activity, right, and you follow that person, what happens to you by your association with that person? You also become promiscuous, right? It's natural. You associate with a drunkard, you also become a drunkard. Prabhupada gives that example. Now, we are associating with Krishna, and what's happening to us? We're becoming purified. Total opposite effect. We're supposed to read the Ras Leela pastime under the guidance of Acharyas to get free of lust. Total opposite. And great thinkers of the past, great scholars of the past have studied Krishna and Krishna's books to get freed from this material world, not to get conditioned in this material world. That's the proof that Krishna's activities is transcendental. Nobody has studied Krishna and his activities and has ever been bonded in this world after that. He's been completely liberated of this world. So it's proof that Krishna's activities is not material. It's not what he's saying and what he's doing, his activities, not material. So if we understand it in that way, great acharyas, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, they've all taught this and transcended this world through this. Prabhupada is also giving this now by chanting Mahamantra Hare Krishna. So then, one personality, in conclusion, we'll just end on this point. Somebody, a great personality, a Nobel Peace winner and the president of a country passed away last week. Anybody hear the news? Yeah? Who? Yeah, right. Nelson Mandela.
Who?
Dr. Nelson Mandela.
He finally died?
You'll take that back after I show you. Anyway, I thought you were teasing me because I'm from there. Anyway. So, Dr. Nelson Mandela, right? I just got this article yesterday of him with the Bhagavad Gita. Now you must have seen on internet and things, there's lots of pictures of him visiting the temple in Durban and offering obeisances to Prabhupada and even garlanding, putting a garland on Prabhupada and things like that. But this article was written by, I'm not sure if this Dinabandhu is our Dinabandhu from Vrindavan, but it says Dinabandhu Das. And it was very interesting to find out that while he was in exile at Robben Island for 27 years, he met an Indian lawyer there who was also in exile while he was in quarantine there. And he would give him, because I think Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita wasn't out at that time. So he would give him, he would just read the verses of the Bhagavad Gita with Nelson Mandela. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, who is well known in our society, he's also left now. So he had met with Nelson Mandela and they were speaking. And then Maharaj had quoted a verse from the Gita. And Nelson Mandela finished the verse, the Sanskrit of it. So Maharaj said, wow, how did you learn this? And he says, well, if you have 27 years of time, there's a lot, of time to read things and know things. And he says, and then after he joked a bit, so Maharaj was speaking to him, and every verse, he says here, every verse he quoted, Nelson Mandela finished the Sanskrit of it, of the Bhagavad Gita. Every verse.
Sanskrit?
The Sanskrit. And yeah, the Sanskrit and the English translation, both of it, he learned it. Especially the prominent ones, So, so he asked him, how did you learn this? How did he say? Then he gave the story of the lawyer and everything. And then he says that this book, Bhagavad Gita, is the only spiritual text that kept me sane for 27 years. Is quoted here. And then the GBC for South Africa, Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, had also, he came to many times, he visited many times to the temple. And when Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj was with him, and then he had given him a garland to offer to Prabhupada, and he offered it to Prabhupada. And as he came off that pedestal to offer, and then he turned around to Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj and said, how did he do it? And Maharaj was taken aback. And he was really emotionally asking, how did he do it? Now you must understand the political situation in South Africa was really intense at that time, because if you were non-white, if you were Indian or African or colored, if you were non-white, you could not mix. It was by law, legislation. But by Prabhupada's movement, they transcended the body consciousness, and here was a community of all mixed races of people living together. Exactly what was his goal in life. So he asked Maharaj, how did Prabhupada do this? And then they had a discussion on this point. And many years later, he mentioned also that he reads Bhagavad Gita daily. Daily he goes over the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. So that's a great, I'm sure this is from Dandavats, this particular article. I just put some dots on the relevant lines there where he's, he's quoted and things. But isn't it amazing? He's a president of a country, he's a Nobel Peace winner, and he's inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, later on he must have read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita also. And he's inspired by Bhagavad Gita. So we got 2 days. Actually, today is a very interesting date. What is the date today?
11, 12, 13.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So it's 11th of the 12th month in 2013. So I don't think it'll appear again like this. So it's a very interesting date. And 2 days from now is a special, special day. So try your best. I know devotees are distributing books. And try your best to also read something of the Bhagavad Gita. Any part of it you can get inspired of. Just like I mentioned Gopal Krishna Maharaj's pastime. If you just, there must be some of us sitting here who haven't actually read cover to cover. Right? So take that opportunity to do so. And you'll see, because who doesn't have difficulties at the moment in their lives? Adhyatmic, Adhibautic, Adhidevik, always there, disturbing. So just see what solace this can give you. I remember while we were distributing books once, with us end on this point, I met a soldier, and I said, hey, this book is this. He said, is this the book that was fought on the battlefield? I said, yeah, this is the book. This is in India, it was fought on the battlefield. So he says, yes, I need something like that, he says, a battlefield book. So life is a challenge like that. Every moment there's something that's confusing us, that's disturbing us. Every moment something is there. But with Bhagavad Gita in the wisdom of it, it's very, very deep. You can continually read it and be inspired. If people like this, not so-called devotees, and they are inspired in reading Bhagavad Gita like this, so we should have no excuse to really absorb it completely. At least have a grasp of what it is actually teaching. What did Krishna want to give us in this? Because he's using Arjuna here. He's using Arjuna as a complete Nimetra Matrena Bhavaya Savisachi as his instrument. And we can also be like that. And this is all to the grace of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll end. This time is really good. If anybody has any questions, maybe they can stay and ask or yes?